guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Rebecca and I'm a Muslim convert of over 10 years. Today we're going to be talking about hijab story, why I put it on and why I took it off. So let's get into it. So I was wearing hijab from the ages of about 14 to about 17, and then when I was 17 I took it off. The reason I took it off is because I felt like to wear hijab you had to be perfect and that I was being put on a pedestal for wearing the hijab. So when I was wearing the hijab for the first 3 years, I never missed a prayer. And if I could help it, I always prayed on time to the minute. So if the prayer was at 5:12, I'd pray at 5:12. Obviously, if I was in a class or whatever, I'd wait until the class was finished, but I never missed any prayers. Even at school, I used to pray at lunchtime in the prayer room. Then I reached 17 and I started missing some prayers. So sometimes I missed Asr, sometimes I missed Fajr, but I was still praying 4 to 5 times a day. But I felt like because I was missing some prayers, I wasn't good enough to wear the hijab. I thought you had to be perfect to wear the hijab. I also started to take the hijab off to go out sometimes. I just added this feeling that basically I just was not good enough to wear the scarf. And with it being put on a pedestal, I felt like there was a lot of judgment to Muslim girls who didn't wear hijab. And I felt like by wearing hijab, people were thinking that I was better than other people. And I didn't want to be seen like that. It made me uncomfortable how people would say, oh, you're in a headscarf, like, well done, that's really good, kind of putting me on a pedestal. So I just thought I'll take it off. And when I took it off, my Islam really started to go downhill. I missed a lot more prayers, I started going out more, like my Islam was just not in a good place. I still believed in Allah the last day and I still identified as Muslim, but my practice as a Muslim was no longer there. I felt like taking the hijab off just invited me to become an even worse Muslim, which wasn't my intention, but it's what happened. Then I didn't wear hijab for the rest of sixth form and my first term of uni. I didn't drink at uni or anything, but I'd go out sometimes and my prayers weren't all there. I did try to go to the Islamic Society and pray sometimes, but it was just not where it should have been. Then I reached the end of my first term at uni and I became like so depressed. Like I didn't go out, I was crying all the time, I didn't go to lectures or see my friends, and I just started telling myself, you're a bad person, you're a bad Muslim, this is why you're so depressed. If you were a better Muslim and a better person, you wouldn't be depressed. So I told myself I need to change my life, focus more on my deen to get out of the depression. I didn't really see it as depression though, I just saw it as, oh, you're a bad Muslim, that's why you feel so low. So one of the changes I made to try and pull myself out of my depression was to wear hijab. I needed to see myself as a better person, and by putting the hijab on, I saw myself as a better person. I don't know if it was because that culture of putting hijab on the pedestal, but I saw it as something that made me closer to God and made me a better person. So then after a few weeks of wearing the headscarf, I started feeling better. But to be honest, I don't think it was the headscarf that made me feel better, because I wore it later on and I was still very depressed, which I will get into later. I also urge you to watch my overcoming depression video, or how I overcame depression video, to understand why I think this. I don't think putting the hijab on cured my depression. But anyway, I wore the hijab for probably 3 months after this. The reason I took it off was because I was worried about getting discrimination when I was starting my summer job in the interview process. So one of the symptoms of bipolar is excessive spending. So I need to get a job to fund my lifestyle and my excessive spending basically. My intention was to only keep the hijab off for the 6 months that I was working. Then when I went back to uni, to put it back on. And when I returned to uni, I did put the hijab back on, but it didn't last long. So I started having severe depression and anxiety, like severe. So I wouldn't leave my house. Like I felt like people were treating me worse than when I didn't wear a headscarf as well. So they weren't opening doors for me. They weren't making small talk. Certain people were looking at me funny because obviously I'm white and I'm wearing a headscarf. And I felt hostility for other people. And because of the place I was in mentally, I just couldn't leave the house. I couldn't deal with it. I used to get really bad panic attacks trying to go outside, so I became more and more isolated, just staying in my room, not speaking to anyone, and it reached the point where I became so lonely, like I just couldn't do it anymore. I tried to get close to people at the Islamic Society, but I found I didn't really fit in. I didn't really make any friends, so I decided to try new societies. I joined the Walking Society and actually booked on a weekend away with the Walking Society. But I found a couple of people on the trip started quite negative conversations with me about Islam, which led me to feel quite ostracised and judged. And I felt like the hijab meant people were going to want to debate me about religion or think negatively of me, and this isn't really what I wanted. So one of the reasons I took hijab off was to kind of avoid other people's judgments and these sort of conversations. I also wanted the freedom to attend the uni societies without feeling like it was inappropriate for me to be there. So uni societies generally involved alcohol, and I felt like as a hijabi I shouldn't be around alcohol. But I felt like if I took it off, I'd have more flexibility in what societies I could join and what situations I could put myself in, so I could make more friends. I think the main reason I took hijab off that time was to make new friends. And I did make new friends taking the hijab off, but my Islam was really derailed. Like, they weren't Muslims, so it just derailed my Islam, and the way I got dressed, the way I dressed, which I think partly was to do my mania as well, just got worse and worse. Like, I stopped praying. My religion practice just went downhill when I took the hijab off again. So I didn't wear hijab for about 2 years after this, and I didn't think of putting it back on during that time. Then about a year after I got married, I thought I really need to prove my relationship with Allah. I really need to prove my religion. So I saw hijab as a way for me to do this. I kind of got over the thought that hijab is arrogant. I saw it as something that was necessary to maintain religion, because when I wore hijab, my religion had always been better than when I didn't wear hijab. So that was just based on my experience in the past, so I put it back on. But at the time, I was too anxious to wear it at work. I'd had a lot of bad experiences of putting the hijab on at the past, which if you watch my Revert Struggles video, you'll know about one of those bad experiences. But I just felt too scared to wear it at work. So I thought, like, I'm not wearing it at work. I can't be a part-time hijabi, like, that's not right. And so I took it off for a few months because I was doing it part-time. I went, oh, I can't be a part-time hijabi. So I took it off for a few months. And then I didn't start wearing it full time again until I left that job. Alhamdulillah, after I left that job and I stopped working, I started wearing the hijab full time again. And this really made my prayers come back to being 5 times a day on time. When I was working, I was praying at work, but I kind of felt like a burden when I was praying. Like, I felt like I was using company time, so I felt this guilt and this embarrassment. And then I stopped praying at work, and then because I wasn't praying at work, I was praying less at home, and it was just becoming a vicious circle. But I feel like now I'm not working and I'm wearing hijab full time, the prayers just become so much easier, alhamdulillah, and my relationship with Allah has improved. Like, I'm even doing extra worship, like, as well as my 5 daily prayers. I'm doing extra worship on top of that. In terms of what I wanted to achieve with this video, I just wanted to encourage Muslim girls to put the hijab on or keep the hijab on. Like, see my life experiences as a reason to wear hijab. For me, it derailed my religion when I took it off. So just take it as a warning. If you want to stay close to Allah, like, wearing the hijab is a way to do this. I'm not saying it's the only way to stay close to Allah, but it will definitely protect you from yourself and also other people who have bad intentions or are bad people. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I haven't really talked about the reason I wore the hijab for the first time. That's something very personal to me, so I don't think I'll reveal all the reasons. But at the time, I just felt like I was being quite sexualised and judged purely based on my physical appearance. So I felt like by wearing the hijab, I could kind of get away from those judgments based on sex appeal and things like that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please leave a comment or like or subscribe. It just means my video will be able to reach more people and hopefully have a more positive impact on the ummah. So yeah, I hope to see you around here soon.